Yo, what's up? Thanks for checking out the Paycheck to Profit podcast. I'm your host, Robert Johnson, and today we're going to connect with Brenda Villafranco. I think I
Hi,
is it
Robert.
is it Villafranco or Villa?
It,
I'm not.
it depends, right? Most people say Villa Franco, but it's
Yeah.
really Via Franco.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I figured it would be I'd be like the standard white guy saying Villafranco.
No worries. I've gotten that all my life, so you're actually okay.
Okay, cool. Okay, so Brenda Villafranco. So we actually met last month at the Golden Tick event hosted by Pace Morby. We haven't really gotten a chance to connect more since then. So, you
That was
realize
such a
that,
great event.
oh yeah, oh, so many great people. And, I'm excited for this because we don't really get into a lot of deep stuff when you're at a meetup. And so
Hmm.
I'm excited to hear more about what you're doing, like at a deeper level and just to hear what your path is in real estate because it's very different from what I'm doing right now. So just really excited to learn about it. So thanks for
God,
coming on and being here.
yeah, no, thanks. Thank you for inviting me. I'm super grateful. I'm
Yeah,
grateful like we crossed paths at Golden event, and it's
yeah,
it's nice. It's a great network. Grateful for even that event that I got invited to. Got to
yeah,
meet a lot of really
yeah,
cool people, and hopefully I'm able to have some partnerships with them in the future as well too.
yeah. That's the really awesome thing. And just as that goes, like I'm working on that right now, like coming out of that event,
Partnerships.
people that we met there, and we're going through the hashing out the details, what a partnership looks like with me and my current partner and then their team. So it's getting in the room with the right people.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely. It's literally worth it. So definitely
yeah,
got to get out there.
yeah, totally. Yeah, so I kind of want to ask a little bit of like more of the transactional questions first, get them out of the way. But like, what's your current role in your 9 to 5 job that you do?
So my background is actually an operations administrator. So I work for a huge hospital here based out of Houston, Texas. And I've been doing that for about going on 5.5 years. My
Okay.
background is I have a bachelor's in nursing. I became a nurse in 2009, and my background was ER specialty. And
Ooh,
so I did that for about, yeah, good times.
yeah.
And I did that I did that for about 2015, 2016. Then I graduated with decided to go to grad school, and I got my master's in business administration in 2015.
Oh, nice.
And from then on, it kind of, you know, kept rolling and rolling again. Like I got into management, and I was just like, oh, I wonder how I'll
Yeah.
do if I become a manager. Like, what kind of experience will I get? And so I had an opportunity that a friend suggested and referred me to. And so I was a manager for about 2 years. And then from 2 years, I ended up going into another management role
Oh,
that
nice.
another friend referred to me as well too. So one of the things that I learned in all these referrals is that you never know who's watching how you work or how you are as an individual. And so I've pretty much have climbed up the ladder with referrals.
Yeah.
And so once I was able to get my first role as a operations administrator, I was in that role for a little less than a year. And then I ended up going to like this hospital in Houston, Texas. And I've been there for about 5.5 years.
Wow.
And I enjoy it. It's a lot of leadership, overlooking the hospital, managing issues. Um, Basically, putting out fires is my
Yeah.
daily task.
Yeah.
And so, but it's been a fun ride. I've enjoyed it. And I feel like also too that it was I never really saw myself as a leader, but I feel like
Mm.
other people did. And so it kind of went towards that journey aligned with my path.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. So, uh, sounds like you were in doing emergency for a little bit and obviously a high pressure situation.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it sets you up well for what you're doing now, where you've said you're putting out all the fires and everything day to day.
Mhm.
What is that kind of the normal path, like from to get to
It's
the
not
position that you're at now?
um kind of. So usually for the most part, people that are in my position, they've either had some kind of leadership role or some kind of charge nurse role and climbed up the ladder through that way as well too.
Okay.
So, but you can definitely go different. The cool thing about nursing is that you can actually go different routes if you wanted to do education or if you wanted to do different specialties, right? So if you get burned out from one field, you can definitely move on to a different specialty and do different
Yeah.
fields. So
Yeah.
that
They
is the
do.
cool thing about it.
Yeah. There's so many options. And, I know a couple of travel nurses, and then there's different, subsets within the hospital and things like that. There's a ton of opportunity there. So,
Yeah, definitely. For
yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Awesome. So, what's your normal schedule look like right now in the day to day?
My schedule, honestly, it's actually a really awesome schedule. So I work 6 12s. So it's
Oh,
usually I work 3 12s and then I have a day off and then I work 3 12s and then I'm off for 6 days every other week.
oh, wow.
And so
That's pretty
yeah, and
cool.
so that gives me like a really nice opportunity to kind of work on my side hustle, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do the 12-hour shifts feel like in that role, and what you're doing with putting out fires? Is it mentally exhausting after a certain
I
hour?
I think right after the 8 hour mark, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, after the 8 hour mark, we're kind of like, yeah, but mentally, it's definitely more mentally exhausting than physically.
Sure.
Versus like when I was in the ER, it was mostly physically exhausted. And so it just kind of switch rows there. So,
Yeah.
but it's I honestly like I enjoy it. I have really good leadership, and so it makes my job so much easier when you have that kind of support.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
with that schedule, it's pretty unique, but pretty cool. And like in that middle day off between the three, um, is that pretty much a rest day for you, or how do you manage that to make sure that you're not like burning yourself out?
Usually it's a rest day. I
Yeah.
just try to catch up with like errands, try to prioritize just like 3 things for that day
Oh, okay.
and then get that done and out the way. And that's kind of it. Like I
Yeah.
usually catch up on reading, and just kind of nothing crazy. I don't go out or anything like that. And I don't like to sleep deprive myself either. So definitely
Yeah.
more of a rest day. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's good. Yeah. I was just thinking through that, how easy it could be if somebody just worked during that day, like on their side hustle,
and
that,
they get exhausted and then you're
yeah.
ready for 3 12s and then
Yeah.
that's the end of that. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
definitely.
No, it's good to hear that you're taking care of yourself that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of want to jump into the real estate stuff. What's your main focus right now? Like, what's your role in a deal per se?
So right now I'm currently doing mostly private money lending. So I've been doing
Okay.
between 30 days and 120 days on deals. I've had for the most part that's been the longest and then the 30 days have been the shortest. And so taking a flat rate fee of it, and that's kind of how I've been building my capital. Um, and so right now I've done 7 deals so far,
Oh,
but
nice.
well, actually, I take it back. I've done 9, but 2 have been private money partnerships.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, so I
Can
did one.
you can you explain the difference really quick for people maybe not
Sure.
aware of that? Yeah.
So private money lending is for either I've only done so far with fix and flippers, where I, give them gap funding as well too. And so it'll be between 60 to 120 days, and then I'll receive my funds back and just recycle it versus a private money partnership. I'm in it for the long haul for several years. And so I was able to build a relationship with 2 awesome people. I'm I was able to fund 22K for their entry fee. And so I'll be receiving 33% of equity and 33% of cash flow for years to
Yeah.
come.
That's
And
awesome.
so, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second private money partnership that I just closed on last week was a pad split. And
Oh, cool.
so me and a group of real estate investors, we invested in a pad split. And so we get 20% of the equity and 20% of the cash.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So,
So,
couple questions.
mhm.
Pad split. So, within, I mean, really quick, maybe give us a rundown. What is pad split again for people that maybe haven't heard of that? Because I'm in the West Coast and I wouldn't have known unless I wouldn't, wasn't in real estate at all.
So with pad split, it's actually something new that I've actually learned myself. I learned it this past October. It's basically to help individuals, contractors, people that are trying to get out the house, and because the rising of the rents have gone, what they do is essentially purchase a house and then they reconstruct it into several more rooms, and so they rent it out per week. And so you can have, let's say you have a 3 bedroom house, then they'll make possibly, if it allows it to, they'll make between 5 to 6 bedrooms. And so each individual will rent that out on a weekly basis. And so,
Okay.
yeah, it helps lower the cost for them instead of
Okay.
actually leasing out a house.
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize it was weekly rate, so that's good to know too. So it's
Yeah.
what kind of tenants live there? Is it people moving in and out for work, or do you have an idea yet?
Contractors, they
Yeah.
mentioned contractors, they mentioned people that are just like younger, Gen Z trying to move out the house, but technically can't afford to rent an apartment. And so they'll rent weekly, but different contractors, construction, um, so far is what the tenants that will be moving in our pad split will be.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. So the
Mhm.
people that you partnered with on it, are you uh did they bring the deal to you to help with like the funding, or did you all come together and say, "Hey, we want to invest and operate this"?
Yeah, we had these Zoom calls about pad split and learning about them. And so we eventually were like, oh, we should fund one together as
Okay.
partners. And so the relationship just continued to build. And so we had an opportunity. And so we took action and now we
That's
just closed on it. Yeah.
that's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. And then going back really quick to the private money lending. So when you lend your money out to a fix and flipper and you're looking at, like you said, I think 60 to 120 days, I think you said you get your capital back, but how does the fee structure work in that? Like what is your return look like and how do you structure it? Is it variable based on the people that
It
you
depends.
work with?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely depends. So I have a really good friend of mine that I did a 30-day, and so it's structured as a 12% flat fee rate at
Okay.
the end of 30 days. So it definitely depends on the relationship, depends on the deal, and then kind of depends on also too like how if I get a second opinion. And I usually ask like another seasoned investor, like, hey, what do you think?
Mm,
How do you think I should structure this? And so they've been able to help a lot.
awesome.
Yeah.
So nothing less than 30 days yet. And I was going
No.
to ask you, um, is that considered the gator lending? Like how does gator lending play into this? And maybe you could give a little bit more detail about that.
So Gator lending, it's usually for earnest money deposit. It can be for private money lending. I haven't had any luck yet with earnest money deposit. Every
Mm,
time I've tried to build relationships with wholesalers, I haven't had the best of luck with that. And so I've kind of put it to the back burner and just focus more on private money lending. But you can, I mean, I know people that have and they continue to do and are doing really successful in it. I just haven't had the opportunity to fund an EMD at this time.
gotcha.
But you could do, private money lending. You can do, it's just taking chunks out of a transaction and you deciding what percentage that you will like, and if that goes well with that deal. Each deal is different.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I imagine with like the Gator lending on the EMD, it's got to be really, really high volume wholesalers that
Hmm.
have a lot of deals in escrow waiting to close and they don't have the cash themselves.
Yeah, and also I think as well too, like even with really high cash flowing wholesalers that I have met, they don't need any of my money. At least that's
Right.
been my experience with it. So I'm sure there are though that probably do need it. I've seen it actually, so
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
a matter of time before I get my first EMD.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Is there a goal for you this year on how many EMD or fix and flips you're going to fund or anything like that?
I would at least like to fund at least 10 this year would be a
Okay.
good. Yeah, I'm building my business credit line at this moment, so I'm hoping to fund
Awesome.
some more. Yeah, and just recycle it.
Awesome. How does
Yeah.
how does the business line of credit work for funding the deals?
Once I get a line of credit, so I've actually used one for a smaller, I used 20K, and I was able to get 0% uh,
Oh wow.
for the entire year. And so I ended up using Plastique. I don't know if you've heard of Plastique
Mm-mm.
before. So
No.
I was able to use Plastique and use that as a transaction to liquidate the funding. And so I just paid the minimum payment until I'm paid back and just recycle it. So I got
Awesome.
paid out with that one already. So I'll be reusing that money again and just pay it
Awesome.
until before my year is up. Yeah. So I'm
Sweet.
hoping to get at least some more lines of credit where I can increase it and use it for at least three or four more deals with that. That'd be great.
Um, yeah, so uh, to get to the line of credit, what's the process in that? You have to start with building your business credit first
Yes.
with like opening up a certain amount of credit cards and a certain type. And I think there's some strategy to that, right?
Yeah, you have to go through the steps of Duns and Bradstreet. Um, and so there's a process, and I'm using PCS because that's what came with the Gator lending. And so they walk me
Oh,
through the
gotcha.
process. And right now, it's where I've gotten my three memberships that actually report to the business credit bureaus. And so from there, I'll have that for like the next 4 months or so, and hopefully it'll report well, and it'll start showing some credibility for that.
Nice.
Yeah,
Just curious, what were the three credit cards that you chose? Do you mind sharing? Like,
yeah, I did. I did Sam's
okay.
business
Yeah.
membership, and then I did Nav, one called Nav, and then the
Oh,
other
okay.
was Staples.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
I think you can do Amazon, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken. You
yeah.
can do Amazon.
I did
And
Amazon.
you did Amazon. Okay. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I feel like that's a really easy one, right?
Exactly.
Yes. And
Yeah.
there were some like flight ones as well too, but it didn't report to all three bureaus. It just reported to like
Mm,
one. So
yeah, yeah.
my my coach from PCS said to it was just better to have the mix of all three of them.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I did it's funny you say Sam's. I did Costco, which West Coast Costco is the dominant warehouse, where I think Sam's is more
On
central and
the
East Coast.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
Sam's closer to me than a Costco. If not, I
Oh,
would have
okay.
gotten a Costco. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
then Home
which
Depot, of
one's
course.
Oh, you got Home Depot. Yeah, you can't go
Yeah.
wrong with Home Depot. I feel like you'll need
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Home Depot, Costco, and Amazon. And the one thing about the Amazon, which it's just a little thing, but it's kind of cool when you hand it over because it's an Amex, so it is a
Mm.
thick card. It is like people always pick it up and they're like, "Whoa!"
Is it
Like
as
it's
thick as my Apple Card?
I don't know,
Okay, because
like
I have an Apple Card too, and the Apple Card is pretty thick as well too.
really? Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
it's
I don't
kind of
have an Apple
cool.
Card. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So that was like the first card that I got, and I was like, oh, this is really a different card. I'm
yeah.
sure there's more companies, but then have you heard of Built Mastercard?
Oh no.
It's a BILT. And so most people use it to gain points for like when they're actually a tenant, so they can get
Oh,
rent as their points.
oh,
And
interesting.
so that's a thick card too as well. But yeah,
Oh,
you get every time you pay your rent, you get points.
oh, that's cool.
So say
Yeah,
your rent is 2,400,
yeah,
then your points is going to be 2,400. So that's
nice.
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a
Yeah.
cool way to incentivize paying your rent,
Yes, 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 yes. And
especially in
it's
certain
actually,
areas.
yes.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, and the only reason I know about that is because I just went live on an Airbnb arbitrage.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah. And so I ended up like, how can I benefit from paying these? And then I thought about that card that someone on
Oh,
Instagram story mentioned. I was like, oh,
oh,
I
yeah.
should apply for that. So now
Yeah.
I just paid my first month's rent. And so I'll get those points for traveling once they
Yeah.
stack up. So it's
That's
kind of cool.
awesome.
It
Yeah.
has some pretty
Yeah.
cool benefits. Like on the first day of rent, you can get on certain I think it's like dining, it's 6 times the points.
Oh,
If I'm
wow.
not mistaken. Yeah, don't quote me, but it's like six
Yeah.
times the points, and then it's like 5 times the points for like any other transaction. So and it's only on the first of that month. So you
Oh,
gotta
like
get
literally the first day, like you have to
they
make
give
your
you like
payments to.
triple.
Oh,
Yeah, you
okay.
got to get triple those points, and then it'll go back down like the rest of the month that you have any other transactions. But it's pretty cool. Then they give you
Nice.
points too. Like yesterday it was like if you add another credit card linked to your built card, then you get another 1,000 points. So I'm
Oh,
like, oh,
wow.
there's so many
Yeah.
ways to like increase your points for traveling.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I need to get better at getting points for travel. I have my Alaska card, but
Hmm.
I need to do or find some other ways because uh
Have you heard
I just want to
of?
travel more and
Yeah, no. Have you heard of the course 10x?
no, is it Grant Cardone?
No,
Okay, it's
no.
not Grant
Okay,
10X.
no. This is a traveling course for free.
Okay.
And it's on, if you just Google 10x travel course, it'll pop up and it's by a person named Bryce Conway.
Oh, okay.
And you basically do that entire course and they teach you which credit cards to use for travel hacking. And
Nice.
so if you get those credit cards, then eventually you'll be travel hacking. Like people, then they have a Facebook group and people are always like talking about their wins and what
Oh,
were they
yeah.
able to get, like their business class, first class, just with points. So it's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll
Yeah,
definitely check that out.
yeah, yeah. No, it's pretty cool.
Nice. Um, we went down a little rabbit hole there, but
we went down we went down the points rabbit hole.
yeah.
That's okay.
So I was curious, you said you wanted to do 10 deals this year, funding. How many have you done this year so far?
I have done two so far,
Awesome.
two deals so far, so
Nice.
8 more to go.
Yeah. And you've
Yeah.
got 9 months.
Yeah, I got 9 months. I think
One a
it really
month.
depends. Yeah, it depends on, I guess, the term, how long the terms are. If I can be able to, I'm hoping I
Oh,
complete
sure.
10. So
Yeah.
I'm shooting for 10 right now. I
Yeah.
think it's possible. So
So what are you doing to find those deals? Like, how do you find the partners that you're working with, and like, just trying to reverse engineer that and break it down? How do you get to 10 deals from where you're at now?
honestly, I've built so many relationships through in-person networking that I think it's a matter of just aligning with those people that I've connected. The deals are out there. It's just underwriting it, making sure that
Yeah.
there's either equity on the deal or it's a good deal to actually align with. And then you find out quickly how quickly you run out of capital,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you're like, oh, okay, now I need to like connect people to a deal. And so
Oh, okay.
something
Yeah.
that I've kind of ideally what I want is just to recycle my capital with the same people over and over again. I don't want to have to
Sure.
like go out and find new people, but so
Yeah. Lasting relationships and, you know, strong, yeah, good people that are doing things consistently.
mhm.
I think that that'd be perfect situation.
No, definitely. And you know what? I went to my first real estate event back in October,
Oh, okay.
and
That was your
Yeah,
first
I
one
met
ever?
my first, well, I take it back. I went to
Well,
Power Hour in Houston in May, and I was
okay.
just like, oh, everybody's really helpful. They're really nice. Sub 2 community is so nice. And so that's kind of how I, started attending. But my first real estate event that I actually went to, like I paid and I flew to, was WealthCon in October, this past
Oh, okay.
October. And so that was a really good event, and I met some really great people. And I actually
Yeah.
still keep in touch with those people. And I did a deal with one of them,
Oh,
one
that's awesome.
individual. And so, yeah, it's been nice just to kind of build that relationship and that friendship. And, so I think in person, I've gotten 3 of those deals, and then the rest have been within the community of Gator and
Oh,
just
nice.
building those. Yeah, I tried to make it a goal where I had it where I was networking with 2 people a day.
That's a lot.
And yeah, that is a
Like,
lot, but
it doesn't
I
seem like a lot, but
mhm.
when you're working your job, you have, that's it can
So
be a
on the
lot.
days that I work, I don't do it because I don't have the time for it.
Right.
But on the 6 days that I'm off, I try to do 2 a day.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. So this year I've gone down to 1 a day because it was becoming a lot of networking. And so
Yeah.
I really wanted
Yeah.
to focus on learning how to underwrite deals.
Yeah. So, really quick, WealthCon, that was Ryan Pineda's event, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't been to that one yet, but I think that would be a good place to um, meet great people, especially in the fix and flip and in real estate area.
He has another one coming up in April.
Oh,
So
really?
I'll be yeah. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it'll be April 18th to its 20th. So if you're
Oh, okay.
interested, it's gonna be in Caesar's Palace.
Oh, yeah. It's always in Las Vegas, right? Because I think that's
Yeah.
where he's at. Yeah. He's like,
Uh-huh.
you guys
Yeah.
come to me.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's a really good event. And Pace is gonna be there, Pace Morby.
Oh, yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah, he'll be
That's
there for
cool.
that one. So
Cool. Yeah. I'll
that'll
have
be
to
awesome.
look into that.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so what does, so the networking, kind of digging a little bit more into that. So you're doing one a day where you're reaching out to people. Like, do you have a way to organize like the people that you meet? Like I've I've kind of thought about this a lot where, we meet a lot of like connectors and people like the private money lenders that you meet so many people. Like how do you organize it?
It's honestly, it's mainly I've been doing mainly just not with a set of am I going to get a deal out of this? It's just I just want to get to know the person.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so from just getting to know them genuinely, that's kind of how deals have been coming back. So I don't really set like, oh, I'm going to talk to this person because they're a great connector, or it's more like I want to see how this person is, and is it someone that I can actually build a relationship over time? And if not, great. And if yes, amazing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and that's kind of how it's been narrowing down for me. I don't mind having like a 30-minute call with you and just getting to know you and seeing, it's what's cool about it is that I'm actually more of an introvert. And so when I actually speak to these people, it's really cool to see that from different states I'm actually able to
Yeah.
have, possible friendships in the future when we see each other at events. And I met a lot at the Godin event that I actually connected with all through November and December. And it was
Oh,
nice to see them
nice.
in person and be like,
Yeah.
hey, like, we've had so many chats on the phone, we've had a Zoom call, and it's just finally nice connecting with you in person. And so that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's one of the things where I need to get better at. Just connecting with people, like your goal of one a day, like that would be great for me.
Mhm. You
In the
work Monday
regard,
through Friday, though, right?
I work Monday through Friday and I do more of the integrator stuff on our team. So
Okay.
I'm like up early and working in the CRM, like, working on systems and processes. But by the time I'm, working or at my W-2, that's when would be the best time to connect with people. And so that makes it challenging. But I need to figure it out because like ultimately I have this vision of being able to go to a city like Pace does, like go to a city and be able to connect with a few friends that I met through real estate and just be able to, have a good time with them and
Yeah.
learn and, like potentially do more business together, whatever that looks like. But just be able to like pick a state and be like, yeah, I know this person, this person, this person there.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. I went to the Aspire tour just a
Oh
week
yeah.
ago, and there was a few people that I connected with in Vegas, and they were there.
Oh,
And so it
cool.
was cool to see them like a second time. And I'm like, hey, how's it
Yeah.
going? Like, so that was really cool. And then I
Yeah.
met some people there that I actually connected with on the phone, and now I actually saw them in person. So it's
Yeah.
always nice to definitely connect with people and get to know them.
Yeah. Okay. So funny thing really quick. Uh, I think I sent something to you on Instagram where it was like, hey, hope you had a good time at Race Fest. And you're like,
Oh,
oh, I
yeah.
wasn't at Race Fest. I was at Aspire. And I was like, oh, they all blend together. But I
It was the same
realized
week.
it was the same
It
week.
was,
But I also, I realized, so I have you as I follow you on Instagram.
Mhm.
And then on Facebook, I don't think I was following you, but there's a Brenda Jones or Brenda Love
Yes,
Jones.
she's multifamily. Yeah, she's
Okay. Yeah.
multifamily. So
So
that's probably why you
I
thought
saw
that. Yeah.
Brenda. She was doing stuff at Raise
Race
Fest, and
Fest.
then you were doing stuff at Aspire, and they were all
Yeah.
blended together. And you looked similar enough at the time. Like I hadn't met you more than like we talked a little bit, but I was like, then I started questioning. I was like, is that actually the Brenda that that I met or
No, it was
no?
not, but that's okay. Yeah. She's great too. I
Yeah.
actually met her. I met her at the Golden Ticket event.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
So
funny.
that was cool. But that is so funny. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, no, I actually wasn't at Race Fest, but I wish I was. I heard it was
Yeah.
a really cool event. So
Yeah. Yeah. We had a
yeah.
bunch of people. We have like a small group of people together. It's called the Summit, and we're just like a little mastermind of all of us working together in multifamily as well. And
Nice.
uh, they pretty much all got to go. I did not get to go, and so I definitely had FOMO,
Yeah, the
hardcore.
whole time you're like
Yeah,
watching stories on Instagram, you're like,
yeah,
great.
yeah,
Should have been there, guys.
yeah. And then
Right?
when they call and leave a voicemail or whatever, and they're like, or send me a video of them all hanging out by the fire pit. I'm like, cool.
Yeah, no, for sure. Is that your goal? Do you plan on getting into multifamily?
Yeah, we're actually doing multifamily right now. We have
Nice.
a 14 unit in Portland, which nobody loves Portland for anything, but
Mm,
we're actually doing it as a condo conversion. So we
nice.
literally just closed on it earlier this month,
How
and
did you find a deal? Like, tell me about it. Like, I want to hear about it.
yeah. So it came from my partner Jeff. He is in Raise Masters, and so he connected with our other partner John, and John has just been working. He's had this vision of doing these condo conversions, and he's been working really hard, reaching out to agents and brokers, looking at the properties on market here, and he found one that was um, it was it was owner or no mortgage, like no debt, and we couldn't get it good terms on seller finance, but we still like made it work with a bridge loan, and we were able to pick it up. I think it was like a little over $1 million under what the market value is right now, and 14 units. They're kind of smaller units, but they're right near the one of the campuses here in Portland, and
Mm,
we've started taking over, fixing things up, just like little things like lighting. And this is mostly my other partners in there doing this because I've got my W-2, and like they're in there, during the day, like just fixing up lighting and cleaning up the place, changing locks and doing that. And then we had a tenant meeting on Thursday, just a couple days ago, talking to them about that process of what that looks like to go into a ownership model instead of a rental model. And we were really, you know, we weren't sure what to expect in that meeting, but everybody seemed to have a good energy and outlook on it. There are a few people that are excited to buy and are ready for that process because we're going to upgrade all the units and pretty much completely redo everything and get them in at a little bit over what their current rent is, but not too much. So
Not too much.
yeah, it's not too big of a leap. And John, this is really cool actually. He came up with this idea that at some point we will we have a little bit of money set aside for helping them move on and like relocate, but that money will go into an escrow account for the people that want to maintain and buy, and then 3 months of their rent will also go into that, and that will help build them up to their down payment, so that way they're literally getting into this house or this condo and ownership for free, as long as they have good credit and they meet all the qualifications and
That's
are
really
making
cool.
their payments. So yeah, I thought it was really cool to do it that way.
So what's going to be your goal for this year then? If you're doing multifamily, like, do you plan on owning a lot of multifamily?
Yeah, so it's funny. So my partner Jeff and I, we didn't split up, but we just chose different lanes to focus on because we were both doing a lot. And so like for a long time, the last 6-8 months, I've been focused on wholesaling and single family. So my mind's in like that range right now. And he's been focused on investor relations and multifamily. So we have a fund that we started this is the first property in it. And we're using that to we're going to take this first purchase and kind of make proof of concept. And then we're going through right now and structuring the team with bringing on some more people and how do we templatize it kind of and make it something that's replicatable.
Nice. Yeah.
Whatever
No,
that.
that's really whatever that means.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's really exciting, honestly.
Yeah.
I think I
Yeah.
will eventually like to get into multifamily later, but I definitely want to build enough capital to buy and hold first.
Sure.
I would like to at least have like 7 to 10 properties. So
Yeah. Nice.
that, and then eventually get into multifamily. I know some
Yeah.
people actually just dive into multifamily.
That was me. I actually started
Yeah,
focused
as
on multifamily. Yeah.
yeah. So that's cool.
That's cool. So, okay, I'm gonna kick it back to you really quick. Like, how did you first get into real estate? I know you said something about Power Hour in May, which is more of like a calling event, right? To call agents or sellers. So
Yeah. So
not
it's actually
really what you're doing.
right. So it's actually really funny. When I first, so initially, how I actually got into real estate was probably not like anyone else's story, because in February a year ago, I decided to purchase a property. And the moment I closed in April, it's like Instagram heard me of searching properties, and I started just getting the whole Bigger Pockets. I didn't know what Bigger Pockets was.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I started following them, and then I got really into it, and I was listening binging every morning before work. I was getting in an episode, and then I was
Nice.
like, you know what, I think this is really possible. But definitely once that happened, I think Bigger Pockets featured Pace in one of
Oh
his,
yeah.
yeah, and then I started following him, and I was like, this is cool.
It's a
Like, that
good
could be
rabbit
a
hole to go down.
yes, yeah, no, definitely. And so then I started getting into, so it's been Pace and Ryan Pineda have been like the top two that I pretty much listen to, even still to this day. Like, I listen to Pace's podcast and I listen to Ryan's podcast a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't, every now and then now I listen to Bigger Pockets, but it's been mainly like those two guys that
Yeah.
have been kind of like, oh, it's so possible. Like, it's very possible.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I started off listening to Bigger Pockets as well at some point, that
Hmm.
I was already kind of like in the multifamily space, but I wanted to, I was just trying to learn more. So I was listening to Bigger Pockets, but I don't listen to any of the episodes now.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah. And, a lot of things change and like, you only have limited time that you can
Yeah.
listen to. And so,
Mhm.
that's a hard space to be in, but kind of similar to you, it's like, once I started learning more about creative finance and things like that, like I
Yes.
started pushing towards that. And then uh, also just something for me too that I'm focused on is just how do I grow personally. And so like
Mhm.
I listen to Ed Milet and
Oh, I listen to
uh,
him too. Yeah, he has
yeah,
some really good stuff too.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. His podcast has helped a lot just with getting my mind in the right space and, coming across challenges and being able to work through them in a different way than I used to.
He's honestly such a great speaker. So he was
Yeah.
there at the first this last WolfCon, the one from
Oh, yeah.
November. Yeah, October.
Yeah.
Sorry, October. And he had like the whole audience crying.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah. I
like
heard him speak.
excitement
At,
and then like crying, and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is so inspirational.
yeah.
Yeah, he does a
Yeah.
really great job.
Yeah. Stuff to look forward to or like look towards, like we were talking about just being introvert, extrovert, and things like that. And there's people that I look to really aspire to behave like,
Hmm.
and he's definitely one of them. So
Oh
want to
yeah, he's
model
definitely.
the behaviors.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
he's great. I like listening to him.
So yeah, yeah, podcasts are essential, I think, and I've been doing uh more exercise lately. So like I've been listening to more podcasts in the morning and the evening and kind of getting to it, take advantage of that, which is great. But I still haven't listened to bigger
Okay.
podcasts.
The Group Price. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I usually listen to one podcast uh, every time I go to work. So
Yeah. Yeah.
essentially, I'm listening to 6 podcasts in every other week.
Yeah.
So I
That's
listen
great.
to, yeah. So that's kind of like what I've gotten into, and that's how I kind of keep up. I don't listen to every single one of them, but I do try to listen to something that catches my attention as well too. But definitely been listening to uh, Brian Pineda and Pace,
Yeah.
and I hear some Ed Milet as well too. I don't know if you know Jen Gottlieb. I think I'm
Yeah.
pronouncing it correctly, but she
Yeah.
also has a podcast as well too
Oh, okay. Yeah.
that
I
I
didn't know
listen
she
to
had a
as well.
podcast.
It's like in the audiobooks. Like she has a
Oh,
yeah, like
okay.
it's a download. I don't have her on Apple, but I
Oh,
ran
okay.
across from that because I purchased her book. And then after I
Oh,
read it, I'm like, oh, that was a really good book. Like, I'll actually listen to it now. So I ended up purchasing the audiobook, and that's kind of how I bumped into her other
nice.
downloads. So she's a
Nice.
good one too.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard her speak on Ed Milet actually and started following her on social and, things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I
Yeah.
saw her at Limitless Conference.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that
Nice.
was the first time like I ever heard of her, and then after that I started following her. I'm like, oh, she's really good.
Yeah.
She has
Yeah.
some really good testimonies.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to get back to because she's more about marketing, right?
She's more about marketing and
Yeah.
marketing your brand,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
she uses a lot of AI to
Oh, okay.
market that. Yeah. So,
Okay. Cool.
yeah,
Nice.
no, she's great.
So I'm curious, going back to like when you started and you you were getting started in like you did the power hour, then you went to Gator and things like that. But like what was your challenges that you were kind of facing at the beginning?
Mindset issues.
Oh, really?
That yeah, because even though like I've already have my, my healthcare career, I was having mindset issues because no one in my family has ever done real estate. And
Gotcha.
so I kept questioning myself, like, would I be able to do something like this? Like, what if it doesn't work? There was a lot of what ifs that ran through my head about, what if it doesn't work? Now you're going to owe a house, or, just different scenarios I would play. And I'm just like, every time I kept listening to one successful podcast in Bigger Pockets, I'm like, I, I think I could do this. Like,
Yeah.
and if it doesn't work out, I still have my 9 to 5 job, and I can just always go back to it. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of what I struggle with. It was more of like mindset issues, like just doubting myself because I had never done something like that. No one around me had
Right.
done something like that. And so once I just got over it, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to start. And so that's
That's
kind of how
awesome.
yeah. So then I learned about Power Hour. I went to Power Hour and they gave us a script
Oh yeah.
to, they gave us a script and I was like, oh, and they gave us like this 15-20 minute tutorial
Oh, okay.
and it was really good. I was like, oh, this is how people do this.
Yeah.
And so I ended up calling, I think 4 people on my list out of like 10 to 15. And
Okay.
I literally read script by script and I gave them the pricing and I was like, oh, this script really works.
Oh,
And yeah,
nice.
I just didn't like get a deal or anything, but it definitely crossed the finish line as the conversation just kept going. I was like one of the, I called one number and I read the script. And I think in part of the script, it said something about, oh, yeah, I've seen the house. Like pictures look great, but I've never seen
Yeah.
the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and so I was like,
Classic.
oh, yes, classic. And so I was like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, I don't think, my client is going to go for that price, but I can talk to her about it. I'm like, okay, sure.
Oh.
And so, yeah. And so once I started seeing that, I'm like, oh, this script is really powerful. But then I decided like now when I actually go to Power Hour, I don't do the script. I just go and network and meet new people. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
that's kind of how I've been building relationships as well too.
Yeah. No, that's a
Yeah.
great way
Yeah.
because I mean, you've got a room full of callers there, and when you get a deal
Yeah.
that
No,
they need
definitely.
to know what the next step is and to be able to fund it.
I'm gonna wear my I don't have you attended a HostCon event before?
Mm-mm.
With Rob from Bigger Pockets? Because
Oh yeah, no,
he has
yeah,
his host camper.
yeah,
So it's cool because I went to his event last year in November, October, November. Well, you
uh-huh.
get these pins that you choose what you are, and so it's like I
Oh,
have
okay,
money, I have capital. So
nice.
then when you meet people, they're like, "Oh, you have capital." I'm like, "Yes, I have it." So
Yeah,
that that's gonna be me. I need to get one of the pins that I got from there and just start wearing it. Like I have
yeah.
capital to all of these events.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, it's total.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go to events for my W-2, and
Hmm.
I'm a buyer for a retailer, so like a grocery store, and when you go there, like at first they didn't put your title or like they didn't make it prominent that you were a buyer, and people would see you and like, oh, what do you do, blah blah blah. But then they started putting it on there, and it was awful for me because people would see like a color of the thing and just see me from like down the aisle and like come harass they just come
Oh.
harass you and like, hey, I've been wanting to get into new seasons. Like, what's and I'm just like, okay, like I'm working my way down there.
I'll be right there, guys.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so I was going to ask, with the challenges that you had at the beginning, so it sounded like more mindset. Obviously, it changed when you started doing the deal, right?
Hmm.
Like that must have changed pretty quick, or was it still kind of like a little bit of doubt in your head, like, okay, I got one, but maybe, what is,
Now the mindset sometimes shifts us to, oh my gosh, am I going to get paid? Like,
uh,
like
shoot, yeah,
yeah, here's like, I did my due diligence. I vetted the borrower. I had someone take a look at it, second set of eyes, but I think it's always like that. And then you have to just kind of tell yourself, like, you know what? You did all that. I did all that I could do.
right,
Um, and just kind of have to let it be and, just allow it to align.
yeah,
That's been in, but definitely no more of the mindset issues, so to speak, but it's been more of like now as I'm like on this momentum, now
yeah,
I can kind of like, okay, I did my 7 deals. I did 2 of my private money partnerships. And then now I started an Airbnb. And now like, okay, what's the next thing, right? And so definitely have a goal to purchase another property at the end.
yeah.
And
That's
I would
awesome.
like to, yeah, I would like to start a podcast fourth quarter of the year,
Oh,
just to
sweet.
kind of, yeah. So I'll have to have you on there as well too.
Yeah, yeah.
That'll be
Happy to
good.
join.
Yeah. So yeah. So definitely several goals. Definitely want to get good at underwriting. That's a goal. Like, I never thought to really get into the real estate space, but now that I'm in the real estate space, it's so many avenues that I just want to like, I'm a learner. And so I
Yeah.
just love just new information. And if it definitely catches my attention, like I'm all for it. Like I'm always reading some kind of book. Right now I'm reading a book just to prepare for my CPA next week. And
Oh,
so
nice.
want to definitely have some questions just to make sure that he's up to par with, what I'm doing and
I
what I
love
plan
that.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely always been a learner. I love learning. I just enjoy it. So
No, that's awesome. And
yeah.
good for you getting questions together, like reading the book to find the questions that you need to
Mhm.
ask your CPA, like covering yourself. That's awesome.
Well, because we never were taught, or at least I wasn't taught this. So for me, like it's all like, wow, like it would have been nice if I would have known this like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
And so
right.
it has to take, it's my responsibility to, determine my destiny with my decisions. So I
Yeah.
definitely want to take full advantage of it. And I'm going to be asking those questions
Yeah.
and see if
I
he's
love
a
it.
good fit after all. Yeah. I used
Yeah.
him last year and he was good. Like I know he's in real estate and he has investment properties,
Oh, that's
but
good. Yeah.
yeah, so that was definitely a good thing. But I have heard some stories where people have used CPAs, but then end up finding out that they actually don't even invest in real estate. So
Yeah.
they haven't been taking the full advantage of what a CPA could actually help you with.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's really important.
yeah, no, definitely.
Okay, so we're coming up on time here in a little bit, but I wanted to ask a couple things just to kind of help with the people listening that want to get started. Like, what would you do different if you could have changed anything to level up faster?
Start sooner. Just start. Like literally just start. Like write down what are your top three things that you would like to do. And then once you have those top three, break those top three into weeks, into days, so that you can achieve that as quickly as possible in a sense where versus like just writing three things and then not breaking it down and then nothing ever
Yeah.
gets done. So for me, it would just be to start sooner and don't be afraid to get out there. Don't be afraid to talk to people. Like you never know who you could be next to, who you can make a
Right.
connection with, and you never know like if it could eventually turn into a partnership. Just never know, and you won't know unless you actually do it. So just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take the action.
Hmm.
You're going to mess up and, find out on along the way like what you shouldn't do, but you
And
can't
that's
you can't get
okay,
through that.
right?
Yeah.
You learn from it and you move on, and now you won't ever forget that again.
Yeah.
So
Hopefully.
definitely. Yeah. Well, yeah, for the most part. I mean, I think for the most part, people do learn from it and then
Yeah.
they're able to share that experience with someone else. So like
Yeah.
for instance, me, I'm still new in the whole real estate space. I'm learning a lot, and so I can take the loss that you probably had and keep that in mind, and I can share, the loss that I've had. And so that's always nice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah, and really like I think you just touched on it a little bit there, but like teaching or learning that process, but being able to teach it too, like really helps. And so you connect with people and you talk to them about what you're doing. And then you find out like, oh, I didn't know, like even me, like one of my next door neighbors, I lived here for years. We've only talked a little bit and then finally started talking about it. I brought up the project that we were working on and he's like, oh, really? Like I do blah, blah, blah. And like it's in high-rise building management, and then
Oh,
his dad
nice.
is buying a ton of property in Texas and moved down there a year ago, and like and he was just there like walking there visiting, and I was walking by and we just started talking about it, and it's like would have had no idea.
N- you would have lived in your house for the next 20
Yeah.
years, not ever knowing that your next door neighbor was a possible connection for your next thing, right?
Yep. Right.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got my random question of the show as we wrap up. And for
I'm ready for
you,
this.
are you ready?
Yeah,
This
I
is
think so.
not shared ahead of time for people
Okay.
listening. So, question for you is, what's your favorite hospital drama or sitcom or whatever kind of show that you can always go back to? Or if you hate them because of what you do, that could be an answer too.
It's actually funny you said that. I haven't watched any medical only because I think that actually I take it back. I watched a few episodes of what was it, the 24 hours ER, I think it
Oh,
was.
okay.
But it was only because one of the doctors I used to work with was actually featured
Oh, okay.
in that episode, and I thought that was kind of cool because it was like, oh, it was a real true story.
Oh, yeah.
But for the most part, no. If something I can go back to would probably be it'd be non-healthcare related,
Yeah.
and it goes back to in Beverly Hills 90210, which I'm sure
Oh,
no
dang.
one, yeah, no
Throwback.
one probably, yeah, that's definitely, and I'm sure probably half the people listening to this won't even know what it is. But it was such a great show, though. That and
It was
Friends.
staple.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Oh, man. Okay, well, thank you for being here and just kind of going through it. It was really great kind of learning more about the lending side because, I, I'm not on that side as much. And, I think that I've got a lender here now that when we get some
Yeah,
properties that I want to go for.
yeah. Let me know. Just send me a message. You have my
Yeah.
number, and
Yeah.
we'll definitely. I have capital, so.
Yeah. And what's the best way to get a hold of you for everybody listening?
I'm rarely really on Facebook, so usually my Instagram at Brenda Villafranco. Just send me a message. We'll set up something and have a chat
Awesome. Yeah.
for
Thank
sure.
you again for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, of course. Everyone else, we'll catch you on the next episode.